Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Susie, and I'm back with another video, which is my part 2 of my story time. I know it's been quite some while I posted that previous video, but I am ready to tell part 2 now. So I got so much good feedback from that video, and the fact that no one judged me. It was awesome to put myself out there and expose myself and know that I was not judged, and everyone was so supportive of the whole thing.
Also, putting it out there, I know that I am not the only one that has gone through these things. There are people that had it way much worse than me. I am just here to tell you my experiences and what happened to me, and this is my story. It doesn't have to be interesting. It doesn't have to be interesting to you. It is my story which I want to tell.
If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, you should probably stop the video here and then you should go back to part 1. And it is very interesting if you would like to know the rest of this story, else it's not gonna make any sense. Or if you want a refresher, because it's been a while, you can go back to that video. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into this video. I left off where I was telling you about where I got baptized and changing my life for the better. I was in front of the church every Sunday, singing and worshiping my heart out. I made new Christian friends that supported me. So everything in my life was just going well. But in my mom's life, things were falling apart. She was full force with me, worshiping, living this Christian life. But my stepdad did not agree to this type of lifestyle. So since she stopped drinking and smoking and partying, they had nothing in common anymore, because that was their thing, to have a barbecue and to party and drink. She didn't participate anymore, so obviously things started getting out of hand and becoming a problem between them. It went on for such a long time that my mom eventually moved into my room and she slept with me in my bed. We only came out when he was not here. We were basically hiding from him. We had a lot of struggles. My mom had a broken car. We had a struggle every morning to get to school. But nonetheless, we got there. My mom had no job at that time, but she always made sure that we were well fed, that we had something to eat, whether it was only a piece of bread. She always made sure that we had full bellies when we went to sleep at night. Sometimes it was such a struggle that we didn't have any transport to school, that we had to stay over. It was so embarrassing. We had to wake up 5 in the morning to get ready, to lift the mattresses, to clean up all our belongings before school starts, so that the other kids did not know we slept at school. No one ever suspected my hard times because I hid it quite well. My mom, despite not having any money, she always made sure that we were comfortable and that we were taken care of, and she never gave up on us. She did decide to give up on my stepdad though. It wasn't long until we decided to move, literally overnight. We got a trailer, we got a few of my mom's friends to help us, we packed our belongings and we left. We got everything on a trailer, and those that did not fit stayed behind. So a lot of things stayed behind because not much can fit on a tiny little trailer. It was nighttime, so it was dark. We had to use our phone flashlights because situations were so awkward that we did not have electricity at that time. Well, we just couldn't use it, if you know what I mean. So things were loaded on pretty quickly and things weren't fastened correctly like they should be. And I remember sitting at the back of the car and the lorry driving in front of us, and things falling and things breaking, things falling onto the highway, and that lorry just keeps driving. So we get at these people's place that we're staying at. They were very nice and they were very helpful and they were really the sweetest people ever. But our boxes were everywhere, the dogs were freaking out, things were confusing, but we stayed there peacefully for a while. So then my mom gets a call early in January 2012. My grandma's cancer has gotten worse and unfortunately she passed away. We haven't seen her in years and her funeral was the next week. My mom was shattered. What else could go wrong? Losing her husband, she losing her mom, losing our house, losing our car. Literally everything was just falling apart. So what else could my mom do? She got a flight and she went to South Africa. She attended the funeral and came back after a week. When she came back, she asked us how we feel about moving, and I was super excited. My thing that I thought about is I'm going to study my fashion designing, which I've been dreaming about studying my whole life. So new adventures, a new beginning, a fresh start in a new country. I really wanted to go. We could be closer to family, which is one thing that I really wanted to do since I don't even know my family in South Africa. So we get ready for the big move, and I remember we having this container with only little furniture inside and our boxes. My mom had to sell the rest and to sell her car so that we had enough money to get over the border. The road trip was amazing. It was only the three of us, me, my mom and my brother, like it used to be before when my parents got divorced. It was fantastic. So 25 hours later, yes, it was that long, we reached our destination, Alberton, Johannesburg, South Africa. It was what I expected. Different, strange, new, lonely. The family, on the other hand, cold, awkward, and complete strangers. I haven't seen them in years. We were basically strangers. Not all were bad times, but this story is not about the good times. This story is about the bad times. All in all, we were not happy there. My mom had a job, but the job was not that good of a pay. We struggled a lot with money. We survived, but we couldn't get forward in the sense of moving out of the renovated garage we were staying in. School was okay. We did night school / homeschooling, meaning homeschooling during the day and night school in the night. We would go to a center for 2 to 3 hours. We would go through a few work, do a few tests, and then that would be it. We would go home and do the rest of it ourselves. Basically a school for dropouts. My brother couldn't cope alone with all his work because he was a lot younger than me. So I had to help him and do my homework and do my learning work and do all my other housework while I was helping him, which I did not mind. But it was a struggle for me as well. I wanted a job. I wanted a job so bad. I wanted to make money. I wanted to earn something for myself. I wanted to become something and do something with my pathetic life I felt I had that time. Because the reality hit me that the fact that I wanted to go study is not gonna happen. Because when you want to study, you gotta have money. And what did we have? Definitely not money. So I got a job as a waitress at the same place my mom worked. Though I didn't earn a lot and I only worked on Fridays, I still loved the experience and the fact that I had a teeny tiny bit of money that I could call my own. So obviously when earning your own money, school doesn't seem that important anymore. I think you see where I'm going here. So as far as my Christianity went, things were going really well. We found a church, we had a small group of people that we had gatherings every middle of the week, but it was just not what it used to be back home. The people were great, it was just not what we had in Namibia. It was different and we didn't go as much anymore. It was not as fulfilling as we were used to. So this one day my cousin reached out to me and he really went out of his way to make it feel at home for me and spend time with me, the time that we lost when we were kids because we were living in 2 different countries. He invited me to meet his friends. He invited me out a lot with his friends. And then it was the first time that I went to a bar, and it was a metal bar. Now, you know me and how crazy I am about my metal and my rock music. So I was pretty ecstatic. It was the first time that I felt cool again in a while, you know, going out in a bar with these cool people around me. With all my piercings and tattoos, I did not have that much that time, but I did have. And you know, I was in a place where everyone had it, so no one looked at you weird. In fact, they looked at you weird because you did not have enough. I of course forgot my Christian vows about drinking, smoking, partying, drugs and rock and roll, and I partied with. And it went like that for a while. No one pressured me or forced me to do any of this. I was 18 and felt I could make my own choices. Well, that is what I told myself. I was still trying to follow these godly characteristics that was expected from me, and I did. But I just started doing things undercover again. I had a fake Instagram account so that I could post emo and depressing and suicidal pictures that no one would know it was me. And slowly but surely started backtracking all my vows, all my things I believed in, and started throwing the good life away again. So in 2013, my mom and my stepdad started talking again. They decided that we should move back to Namibia. We were very happy about that. And he really did change a lot. He stopped drinking, he stopped smoking, he got baptized, he went to church, everything that my mom wanted him to be, he changed for her. We were happy to leave, though I was sad to leave my new friends, especially my cousin and his girlfriend at that time. But I was happy to go back to a country which I knew and loved. Everything was fine and perfect again. I got a job, I met a guy, I dated said guy, he had a car, it was great. My mom and stepdad moved to a town which was 70 kilometers from where I lived. I did not want to go with because I just got this new job and I was doing so great in it, so I decided to stay. I moved into my dad's backyard flat and boyfriend came along. We dated for a year and my feelings just started fading for him. 6 months later, I was literally dead with no emotion for this guy at all. The only reason we stay together is because he has a car and I have a house. So I used him for travel and he used me for a roof over his head. Eventually, I had the guts to end it, and it was pretty awkward because he was still staying there. I hated coming home to the awkwardness, so I just avoided coming home at all. So I found this little bar not far from where I lived. I would take a taxi there right after work and I would start drinking. By the way, somewhere in all of this, I started smoking again. I became real rebellious and one day I decided to get my lip pierced. I've always wanted to get my lip pierced, but my parents obviously never approved. But now being 19 and rebellious, earning my own money, I just decided, let's do it. I know my ex-boyfriend did not like piercings at all, so I kinda did it to spite him in the process. Eventually he moved out and we both moved on with our lives. With him not there, I had no reason to avoid home, but I already got the taste of independence and freedom that I just continued with my ways. So I was even less at home. The drinking had gone from such a level that I would go home from work, I would get in the shower, I would dress up, I would make up, and I would take a taxi or I would walk to this bar. And yes, I said walk because I had no car. So I would stay till midnight, I would get home, I'll have a few hours of sleep, I would get up in the morning and go to work, and everything would be on repeat for every single day of the week. This routine went on for a very long time. I started smoking weed again, this time more regularly than before, buying my own and even reselling it for a while for some extra cash. So yes, you can basically say I was a drug dealer. So here comes the part where shit hits the fan. So all this partying gave me a name. A name I was not proud of, but a name that I liked. I had a lot of friends, drinking buddies I might call it today. I knew there were always situations that I would have been exposed to bigger drugs. I knew it would come, but I felt I was ready to deny it or to walk out of the building when something like that happened. I was in a few situations where it did happen and I did walk away. This certain group of people was a group that if you didn't do drugs, they don't mind. They do their drugs, and if you don't want to do it with them, it's fine. More for them. They don't want to share their drugs. Drugs are expensive. Even though they did not offer you, you definitely felt the need to partake, even though they said nothing. So one day at this very bar that I hanged out every time, I was never weak. I never gave in until this very dark night. A few people said they were gonna go smoke outside, and obviously I joined. We got into the car, just chilling, listening to music, lighting our cigarettes / joints. I was in the back with 2 other friends and 2 guys were in front, smoking and relaxing by myself, minding my own business. But I noticed the vibe wasn't as chill as it usually was. The group was tense and quiet. Then I glanced around me and my eyes got glued to the front. Some white powder getting split equally in 4 lines with a bank card, a $10 note being rolled up into a straw, and then I realized what is happening. Funny enough, they didn't even offer me, and yet that is when I felt I wanted to do it the most. What I thought I had to prove back then, I don't know, but I asked them to join. And what did they say? No. They legit said no. That is how they were. Like, they knew I don't do things like that. I am a stoner and that is where I will be. And they just said no. Not that they didn't have enough, like they had plenty, but they were overprotective of me, which made me mad because I wanted to prove something. Like I said, what I wanted to prove, I do not know. But how dare they think that I could not do it? How dare they think, probably because I am a girl, I am not worthy enough to do this. So I asked them again, I want to try. Please, could I try? And the guy said, okay, fine, here's the consequences. He even told me the consequences and the side effects, yet was not thinking, like, why? And I still did it. So the main guy showed me and I did it like a pro, and I felt powerful. I felt this, I am the best. I am cool. I am the shizness. They told me what I would experience, all the side effects, all the weird effects, everything that was happening. It's been a few minutes, I feel nothing. So automatically I thought I did it wrong. And later on the night I found out that when you mix alcohol with weed and other drugs, like it clashes kind of, I think. One of the other, it does not work anymore. So because I was that drunk and I was that high already from doing lighter drugs, that I did not even feel the effect the cocaine had on me. So the only person I could talk to was my colleague at that time. I told her because I knew she went through the same things and she could be of help. She was very disappointed at me and I felt really bad, and I promised her and myself that I would never ever do it again. I felt really bad because she cared so much about me ruining my life with drugs. I did not want to disappoint her again. So obviously I thought it was God giving me a second chance, because how could you use hard drugs and not even feel an effect? After that night, I got in such situations more frequently, and it was all the harder for me to say no. So despite my promise to myself that I would not use again, a few weeks later, I did. And the feeling I felt was great. I was energized, I was hyper, I had so much energy that I've never in my life ever felt that I would have. I was happy and I had no care in the entire world. So the next morning I did not feel as nice. I had a really bad hangover and I was craving drugs. And somehow I got into the situation that I could use it again, and I did it for the 3rd time. And the 3rd time I did it, I thought I was going to die. I had these extreme hallucinations. I had such anxiety. I was shaking uncontrollably. but I was alive and I was happy and I was hyper and I was energized. So the feelings of the hallucinations kind of gave me like, oh, it's fine, it's just the side effects. Like, I love this energized, powerful feeling I have, like, which is really dangerous. Things got so out of control that night that I woke up the next morning in a place I have never been in my life, at someone's house I do not know, and to think about it now, it could have been so much worse. I just didn't care at that time. I was at this unknown place with these unknown people, and for the first time, I actually feared for my life. I did not know what I did the previous night. I did not know if I used hard drugs. These people were lying around me. There are drugs, there are every single thing you could think of that is bad is lying on the tables like it's been a freaking drug party. So I went to the bathroom, freaked out, checked myself for marks, needles, scars, anything that I could have injected myself with that I can't even remember. And thankfully there was nothing I could find, nothing I felt, nothing except the bad hangover that was usually the downer of the drugs. And that was a feeling like death. I was vomiting, I was weak, I could not move, I could not walk, I could not get home, I didn't even know the area I was in. I woke up this guy who was sleeping next to me and I asked him if he could take me home. I don't even know what his name was, but he was nice enough and he did. I lay in my bed and I remembered the feeling that I had and I wanted to die. I wanted to have that feeling, that powerful feeling, that energized, hyper feeling again, but I didn't want the crash. So I slept. I slept for 2 days straight. I did not eat. I did not drink. I locked myself in my room. I woke up late Saturday afternoon. I took a shower. I slept again until Monday morning. And the only person I could tell that would understand was my colleague. We talked a lot and she gave me advice to rehabilitate myself, and I did for 2 weeks. I only went to work and I came back home. I ate something and I got in bed and I slept. I did not go out for 2 weeks. I did not talk to people for 2 weeks. I was literally MIA on my phone, on Facebook, on Instagram. I literally disappeared from the world. I got better. I felt happier. I felt normal without being that high again. I started working out with my brother and I started joining a gym. And who was the guy at that gym there as well? The freaking drug dealer. So he saw me every day and I felt the need to buy from him every time. He gave me great specials, but I was smart enough to not use that much for myself, but sell it. And, you know, make a little extra money. But I only sold to my closest friends because I was scared of being caught up in something much more dangerous again, like previous times. Because since I already got caught once and I was almost thrown out on the streets, I did not want to risk it again. Things were okay. I was stable, responsible. I started dating a guy who lived out of town, which he turned out to be really bad. But I knew that. I just did not listen to myself. My rebel self was extremely attracted to this bad boy. He didn't have a job. He stayed in his mom's backyard. He drove his mom's car. But he was exciting. He showed me new tricks of smoking to enhance your high, downing cough medicine to experience a high that is out of this world without the addiction and attachment. Like I said, he wasn't good, but he was exciting, which is why I is a drug dealer. And not just like weed, you know, weed is tiny and the other drugs are like, whoo. No, I don't go there. I stay below. I stay down here. Like, this is the safe area. We don't go to the top. Like, stay away from the top. So he was like doing the drugs here. And I ain't there. I was here. Like, I was safe here. Only here. He had no job. But when I came home, and I say home because I was literally living with him for a while, when I came home from work, I found that he brought cool drinks and alcohol and weed, you know, all that stuff. And like, dude, you don't have a job. Like, how do you afford this stuff? Like, the booze you buy is not cheap. So there was always money for luxury things like alcohol and drugs. Weed, not drugs, weed. Weed is a drug, but this is not that video. So there was always money for that, but he did not have a job. So like, and he definitely did not steal my money, because like I never took money with him because yeah. So one Monday night I got a call from my mom, hysterical. She heard at a friend of a friend what this dude is up to behind everyone's backs and what he has done to younger girls much younger than him. So my first reaction was like, ugh, mom, just stop worrying what I do with who, because it's none of your business. And then my second reaction was like, shit, I knew it. But my response was, I'll deal with it. That same Monday night I confronted him over a text, and long story short, we broke up. I was scared to do it in person because I was scared that he would attack me or do something bad to me. That is why I decided, you know what, text is better. So a few weeks passed and I was living life just as I did before, nothing changed. He did contact me again and asked me if we could hang out again. So what do you say when you heard all these abusive things that he's done to little girls and that he's ruined people's lives with drugs? I think 99% of people would say, no, stay away from me, you freak, and they would go on with their life. What did I do? Oh, sure, let's try again. So I went, but I felt so unsafe. I never in my life have I felt so unsafe with someone I actually know. Legit, I feared for my life. He didn't, but I did not have good vibes at all. So I went home safely, and the next day at the gym, this dealer asks me if I am still dating this dude. I tell him no, not anymore, this is the reason, blah blah blah, and he tells me good, because he knows him as well and that he does not like the way he does business. And I'm like, what do you mean the way he does business? And then he told me that he was dealing drugs, weed, with things mixed in, like not pure. And then he was dealing other drugs. I'm talking about like A grade type of drugs. And that is why this dude does not do business with him anymore, because he likes his stuff pure and doesn't beat around the bush like ex-boyfriend. I was livid. He promised me when we started dating that he would not dabble in such things and he would not do or sell those type of drugs. He knew how I felt about it. He knew, but he still tried and do it undercover. And obviously that is where all the luxuries came from. And I was just too dumb to figure it out sooner. So I distanced myself from him a lot more, and more girls' stories came out, and I was shocked, even mad. If I had stayed with him any longer, he would have drugged me, gotten me addicted, probably have raped me as well, and I would probably not have escaped a second time. All of this had me thinking one day that how did I get myself into this situation? How did I go from being this person to this person down in the gutters again? Somehow, always I walked out unharmed, every single time. So I started believing that I had a guardian angel. Turned out that that angel was my mom. After all these things happened, the bad things that I did, I later realized and found out that every time that I went out and I partied with people, my mom prayed for me. When I went home in the mornings, 3 o'clock, she would wake up. Something would just wake her up, and she felt the need to pray for the lost sheep. She would not know that I was there. She would not know that I partied. She would not know where I was. It was like in the middle of the night. Like, why would you wake up in the middle of the night and then just suddenly have the urge to pray for someone? And then I realized that how ruined my life could have been if God was not on my side. I abandoned him, but my mom never did, and she still keeps praying for her children. And because of that, God never left my side. and all these things that happened to me, I always had an escape route. I always had a way of getting myself into a sticky situation. I always had a plan to escape. I just never knew why. But now I do. In 2016, I met my husband. And for the first time, I felt how it is to be truly loved. I got pregnant and I met the love of my life in January 2017. And I never turned back on my bad ways. I was filled with something inside that I did not have to replace with drugs, drinking, or parties. And that is where my part 2 ends. Yes, it just ends. Just like that. My daughter forced me to have that responsibility. And I'm not having any regrets about that. But on another note, I knew that without God's grace and without God's guiding, I would not have made it. I would probably not even be alive. I was either supposed to be dead or in jail, but there was a bigger power having his hand over me. I am not on the road I should be, and nor am I gonna be it quickly and easy when I post this video. But I promised myself to at least try again. I know I sin, I make mistakes, but doesn't anyone make mistakes? But to own up to your mistake that you made is the first step to recovery, and that helped me. I couldn't do it without my mom's support and love though. I couldn't do it without God's undying, never-ending love, even if I denied him at that time. And even my husband's understanding support, and then my daughter. From the day that I found out that you're growing inside of me, I changed my life to give you an amazing one. But without God's grace, that would not have been possible. That's why we named you Naomi Grace. Anyway, that's the end of my part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.